Welcome to the Pantheon Plus Rewind.
Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 87 of the Pantheon Plus Rewind, the weekly podcast covering Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, its community, and sometimes other things. Anyway, we're here to bring you the best that we see and hear throughout the week straight to your ears, along with some thoughts of our own. We've got something special today that we're really excited to share. So please, hang your hat and coat next to the door and take off your shoes. You're home here. Come hang out with me, Desrin, and my neighborly co-host, Theric, as we bring the conversation to you. Please enjoy this week's Rewind. All right, this one's going to be different. Right, Theric?
Yeah. We're straying from the beaten path a little bit this week to try and, keep it fresh, change it up a little bit, but I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And of course, we're always going to be a Pantheon podcast. But I was thinking about it, and especially right now, we all kind of play different games, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's sometimes it feels like the flavor of the week a little bit in terms of what we're playing or, what's new and what's interesting, because there's just nothing that's like, grabbing us and keeping us. We're all sort of wandering a little bit.
Right. So it's natural for us to, perhaps kind of take the off-ramp once in a while and venture into a new place, I'd say, yeah. So, for example, right now, my new place is Mortal Online 2. And
nice.
It's given me a really, like I said, different experience. And that's kind of my focus right now, kind of keeping my eye out for games that break the mold or try new things, or just are, bold on how they approach their design. And I think a lot of listeners keep at least one eye on what's happening in the MMO space. And so, obviously we do too, right?
Yeah. I think that's a good way of putting it. I feel like I've been playing video games my whole life, and like I've played so many that if a game's not doing something new and interesting, I have a hard time keeping my attention. But then again, sometimes it's like you want something that you haven't had in a long time, right? So you go back to something that used to be prevalent and isn't prevalent anymore. But I'm interested in your experience with Mortal Online 2. How's that been?
Oh, man. Well, I don't know if I should get into it totally here, but if anyone's curious, check out the Pantheon Plus Discord. I'm trying to hang out there while I play it, and if anyone wants any information, I will say it's very different, and it requires quite the mindset change. But in that way, it's kind of refreshing, because I'm not a person that would typically seek out a game that is PvP. There's that open PvP, but like I said, I'm trying to open my mind up and try to find nuggets of goodness out there. And I found that there's some really, really interesting things. And I love the company that's making it too. So
nice. Oh, that's great, man. I'm glad to hear you're having a good experience. I saw that you were streaming it into the Discord there with some folks, and I was tempted to jump in and annoy you, but I refrained from doing so. But hopefully it keeps being a good experience for you there.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting. Going to be playing a lot this weekend, that's for sure. But while that might be my thing, we've got plenty of people in the guild that are doing different things. And like I said, all of our listeners, I'm sure, you're playing EQ, you're playing EQ2, you might be playing Final Fantasy 14, you might be playing ESO, you might be playing, any number of other things, Valheim,
Yeah.
So I'm just really excited to kind of branch out a little bit and do this. But anyway, speaking of our listeners, we've actually got another great lineup this week of wonderful people in our adventuring party. So let me make sure to go through them. We've got Shuriken on the Dwarf Cleric, Joel Brown on the Scar Shaman, Ziplox on the Darkmer Rogue, Jason on the Scar Beard Lord, Sparrow on the Elf Ranger, Bounty Code on the Human Wizard, Screech on the Scar Bard, Man of Rohan on the Ember Elf Ranger, and Bit Crunch on the Ashen Elf Shaman. and Crow Singer on our Halfling Druid.
It's a good-looking group.
Yeah, it's great. And, as usual, thank you so much, everyone, for just showing such wonderful support of this podcast. It always means a ton to us. I'm sure you could say the same. And if you do want to join the adventuring party for next week, feel free to drop a donation during the YouTube premiere on Sunday mornings. We also have a Patreon that's going strong as well if you can't make it, but you still want to support us. But as always, just being here, listening is more than enough, guys. And this show would go on regardless. But again, thank you so much to those that just kind of go the extra mile. It's awesome.
Absolutely. Well said.
Anyway, I think it's about time we get some quick news and notes in.
Let's go. This week in Visionary Realms News and Notes. Okay, so not a lot going on this week in terms of news and notes, but we did get the February schedule in terms of development updates that we're going to see. So I wanted to go through that and take a look at it. Speaking of taking a look at it, man, I got to tell you, Desmond, this screenshot that they used as a background for it, like I know it's sort of like a minor thing to look at something like this, but super sweet.
Dude, it's so funny that you bring that up because it was the first thing that I thought too, because it's perplexing. It's simple, but perplexing.
I just like a well lit study, a candlelight study. So that's a beautiful thing. Anyway, so it's nice to look at, but the content that we're going to get is probably going to be even nicer. So starting out Friday, February 4th, we're going to get Kyle and Joppa talking programming. This is dropping on Friday next week. This is the VIP developer roundtable. So that's when it becomes public for everybody. So you out there, all you programmers and techies out there who really liked what Kyle had to say during the last VR dev stream when he showed the the Tic Tacs and the blue Tic Tac and the white Tic Tacs and all that stuff that none of us had much idea what he was talking about. If you're into that, I'm sure you're going to love hearing this roundtable because Kyle is a technical wizard. So I'm sure it'll be a deep dive into a lot of that stuff. And of course, we'll talk about it once it's made public.
Oh,
and,
you'd better bet I'm going to be talking about it.
yeah. Well, you're going to do more talking about it than I am. I'm going to be listening and learning more, but we'll lean on you to fill us in on the technical details. So now, technical stuff is not my forte, but the other stuff that they announced in the developer live stream coming on February 10th. This is my jam. This is where I sort of live. And they're going to be talking about exploring the giants of Terminus. So, wow, that's going to be fun. There's actually quite a bit of lore about the giants that was published on the old website. It hasn't made its way to the new website yet. So I'm familiar with it. And it's actually surprisingly thorough. Like there's quite a bit of it. So I don't know what we're going to see here. If we're just going to get that lore, I'd imagine we're going to get more than just that lore sort of reimagined or repurposed. Maybe we'll get some concept art from the new concept artist they hired. That's like maybe a possibility.
Oh, that would be so cool.
So maybe some 3D modeling, who knows? I want to say we've seen 3D models of the giants before. In my mind, I can see it, but I haven't looked recently, so don't exactly quote me on that one. But who knows? Maybe even something more than that. We'll have to wait and see. But I love a good dev stream where it's focused on one thing. So that'll be fun. And again, they're doing shorter, more sort of focused dev streams going forward. So I expect this one may not be the full hour that we've been seeing in the past, maybe closer to like 30 minutes kind of thing. But of course, we'll cover it on Pantheon Plus U on the right after the dev stream. So if you watch the dev stream next Thursday, you'll see me, Drac, and NathanNapalm covering that directly afterwards on Pantheon Plus U. The next monthly newsletter comes out February 17th. And then, of course, the next VIP roundtable already at the end of the month on February 25th. So no details on what those may focus on or what specific areas they may cover in those. But as always, there'll be plenty of juicy content for us to dig into. So pretty good stuff, it is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What are you hoping for the next Dev Roundtable? Out of curiosity.
That's a good question. Well, we just had one with JN not too long ago, so I'm sure we're not getting that. Of course, that would be my first choice. But what do I think we'll get? Maybe something with their new concept artist. It depends on how much that person wants to be front and center, I guess. Like, it depends on maybe how much of a, they want to meet the community or be a part of the dev roundtable process. I know Kilson likes to bring people into, bring people out and then, talk to them and have the community interact, give them a chance to get to know the community and vice versa. So, maybe I would put my money on meeting the new concept artist. What about you?
Oh, this one might surprise some people, but I'm actually really hoping for a round 2 of Nefel coming back on, because it's been a while since the last crafting DRT or information, and I know a lot of design has happened since then, and I'm just really curious how all that's progressed, because it was obviously fairly early in infancy last time, so I'm sure he would have a lot more expanded knowledge on how everything works now, and that's really what I'm looking for, just because I feel like it's been a while.
Yeah, I feel like we've seen quite a bit of development stuff on the crafting front from Nefel. In terms of the material library, we saw a couple dev streams ago, or the last one, I guess. That was talked specifically about in terms of harvesting and crafting materials. I feel like we've gotten a lot of peripheral stuff around crafting, and we should hear from Nefel to sort of bring us up to speed on what's going on with their crafting, because it's an important part of the formula that they're going for. So and it always brings people in. I think there's a lot of crafters out there who get brought in specifically for that aspect of the game. So that would be a good one. That would be a good one. So, so that's it for the VR news for the week. As always, just be sure to go and check out the Twitter page, the official Pantheon Twitter page, to get that schedule that I mentioned. You can also check it out on the website. In terms of Pantheon Plus, just a couple things that we've been working on. Keep your content appetite satiated. And I don't usually do much, I don't like to self-promote my own stuff too much. I did make a video this week that talks about the changes to the perception system, which I told you how excited I was. And I know that I've mentioned before that I think this is a huge change that deserves a lot of attention. So I actually made a video about it. I don't know if anybody out there's checked it out, but you should definitely give it a look if it's something you're interested in. I find it very, very interesting about how they're integrating that perception into the other gameplay systems, which is basically what the video focuses on. Mm-hmm. It's not just a solo, if you're into the lore, you're going to want to do this, engage with this system. Now they're expanding it out. And it's kind of cool because I referenced Adam Mostel in the video, and he's the one who actually dropped the bean during the roundtable about this. And he commented on that. So it was kind of cool because it was something to do with his reference to the mummy and how somebody else said, I wasn't sure what he was talking about there. And I was like, I don't know if I'd seen all the mummy movies to be able to properly understand that reference. But he actually came in and clarified it a little bit, which I thought was super cool. And about, the character he was seeing in his mind, and about how that just sort of elaborated on how that's going to look in Pantheon, what that's going to be in Pantheon, and his vision for the perception system. So I really appreciated that from Adam. It's super cool to get in there and leave a comment like that. So go check it out. I think it's a interesting discussion, and I'd be curious as to what anybody thinks about it. I'm curious as to what your thoughts on this are. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really great video. I thought it was well put together, well scripted. I love that you focus on this particular part of perception and emphasize it, because I think you're right. No one's really emphasizing that, even though it is a bit of a change, right? A good change. And I mean, as good as this news is, I kind of just can't wait until we get more information, so we can actually do a full deep dive video.
Yeah.
But this satiated my perception needs for a while.
Yeah, I think this is going to be something that because on the YouTube channel, the playlist is called Theric's Perception of Pantheon. Like, I just want to do videos about perception and really nothing else. Like when the game's out and I'm like doing it myself, like exploring and doing perception lines, storylines and stuff like that. Like, this is going to be like a huge part of what the kind of content I think I'm going to make when the game's out and stuff. So this is like, the more information about this, the better. And I like that they acknowledged it as well. They're like, yeah, we know it's like, we know people don't know about this system.
Yep.
Like, we know people don't have any information about how exactly the system's going to work. So I think it was just a good, acknowledgement. That's one of the quotes I used in the video from them, from Joppa, saying like, yeah, we get it. So they want to talk about it more, and I think we're gonna get some more details about that coming soon. So I cannot wait.
For sure.
Yeah. And then in terms of our calendar for the week, this week on Pantheon Plus, January 31st through to February 6th. Drax taking the night off on Monday, so no EQ stream, Monday midnight stream for him. But Tuesday we are doing Classes 101, and I think we're doing Final Fantasy 14 again. It might be our last night doing Final Fantasy 14. It depends on how things go. We've been doing the Coils of Bahamut. So slogging our way through, actually going through it fairly quickly, to be honest with you, but having a good time. And if we can get this last fight done, then maybe we get some sort of validation as legit Final Fantasy 14 players. I don't know, but and then on Wednesday, Sparrow is streaming. She's still doing ESO at 9 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check out Sparrow's Twitch channel. She's doing well with that. I've got a video coming out on Wednesday as well, my next lore exploring series. And Wednesday is also the release of The Waylanders, which is a game that I've been following very closely in terms of, it's not an MMO, a single player party-based RPG. Very interested in it. It's got some sort of roots, some lineage in terms of developers that are involved in it that I like. So I've actually been playing it in early access. I've got a video ready to go for Wednesday. I'm really, really excited about this one. I think it's going to be a cool thing to do this game through the lore exploring sort of lens, I guess. So I'm excited for that. Thursday, Crow Singer's got chapter 19 of her epic tale, The Sway of Storms, coming out. That's Thursday at 10 a.m. on the Pantheon.plus website. Friday, Redbeard Flynn's got a video coming out about the classes and Pantheon classes called Getting Classy, which is a great name. It makes me think of that Office episode with Jim and Dwight battling for who can be classier. I love that.
Yes.
So that's right on point with Redbeard Flynn's sense of humor. He's got that clever streak in him, which I love. So and then Saturday, Crypt Fox is streaming Final Fantasy 14 in the morning. Ben and I has a chapter 9 of his fan fiction getting posted to Pantheon.plus at 10 a.m. So also check that out on Saturday. And that's the week that we'll be here at Pantheon.plus. It's also the VR news and notes for this week. And now I'd like to get us going to our special edition. What makes this episode a special edition this week? We have an interview with Mr. Josh Caba, the creative director of Triune Studios, working on War of Dragnorox. So enjoy. All right, I'd like to welcome in our very special guest to the show, Mr. Josh Caba, who is the creative director of Triune Studios, and they are developing the upcoming MMORPG War of Dragnorox. Welcome to the Rewind, Josh.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, right on, man. It's such a pleasure to get to talk to somebody, and like we were saying earlier in our show, a little stepping outside the boundaries of our usual content. So we are big fans of MMOs in general, and this is a great opportunity for us to get to know a little bit more about you and the game that you're developing. So thanks for being here. And let's start with the basics. Perhaps you can tell people out there who aren't familiar with the project a little bit about what War of Dragnorox is, and sort of talk about your vision for the game and how you see it in the MMO landscape right now.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, thank you guys for having me on the show here. And, basically the War of Dragnorox kind of came out of a vision of experiencing current MMOs, So, I'm really excited to chat with you guys because we're probably cut from the same kind of cloth. We're all hardcore, old school MMO guys.
Right.
And, I think we had, I don't know, like about you guys, but like when we used to play MMOs back in the day, we had really strong, at least I had really strong emotional responses to these games. So like to this day, I'm still scared to go into like lower Guck because of the,
Yo, man, don't even get me started. I know I can tell stories about lower Guck all day.
Oh, I mean, and the amount of hours that you had to spend on a CR in Lower Guck was just, I mean, it was just unreal,
Insane.
and
Yeah,
it's
insane.
almost evil, right?
Yes. Definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, I think, and so, there's that sense of danger, and then same things with like friendships and stuff. Like you had to group with people, you had to, it wasn't this focus on grind as fast as you can to high level, do it solo, et cetera, et cetera. You really had to group, you had to meet people, you had to do some kind of dangerous stuff, and and so we were looking at all these games, and the other thing that drives us nuts is like, if you want to get an awesome sword these days, you pay $20, and or whatever it is in the store to get a mount, or whatever it is. In fact, I hadn't played WoW in a very long time, and I signed onto the website, and I look, and I'm like, I'm probably getting the price wrong here, but for like $50 you can go to like level 110 or whatever. And I think when I looked at the max was 120, and I'm like, you've got to be
Yeah.
kidding with me. So
Right. Totally.
I can get the best of this awesome looking sword. I can get this awesome looking gear. I can get to almost top level. I can go to a top tier raid. I can jump in right away. And I've never even like casted a single spell on my class, and I can just instantly do this by swiping my card for $150 or whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah, for $50, you could skip 90% of the game.
I mean, yeah. And to me, that is just, I mean, it's just a foul. I mean, I just, for the amount of work that like we used to put in for old school MMOs and the satisfaction that came out of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just,
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. And I just get so sad thinking about, what it takes to get to that point in an old school MMO versus what it is today,
Yeah. Oh, it's almost like all the good stuff's been taken out and all the bad stuff has been put in to replace it. All the things that aren't fun. You have to,
Right?
you sort of have to, doing the fun things is now a luxury, whereas doing the stuff that you don't want to do and like we'll pay for a good time, like we'll pay our money for a good time, but don't take away the thing that we're paying for, like this is what we're doing.
Exactly. It's just crazy. And so I was just like, you got to be kidding with me. And I think for me as well, like stuff like instance raids, like I think there's certain things that are cool about that and they're great. Everybody can experience it. But to have everything instance, I mean, there's no competition. There's nothing. I don't know. There was just some things about the current state of MMOs. I'm like, the industry just went in the wrong direction, in my opinion, just completely wrong. And so I don't know. I was sitting there. I've been playing Project 1999 and the old EverQuest emulator, and I'm like, why am I playing this game that's over 20 years old to get a real legitimate MMO experience with? And have real value on what I do and achieve. Like if somebody walks up with epic weapons, that they earned them and they didn't buy them in the cash shop, and that just drives me nuts on regular on MMOs these days.
Yeah, there's that item prestige is something that we talk about a lot on this show, and the importance of item prestige is just so core to the MMO experience. And I can't remember the last time I logged into an MMO and said, I know what that weapon is, or I wish I had that weapon and I know where somebody got it and I wish I could do that content. You know what I mean?
Don't you remember that feeling like when you're sitting in, West Commons and somebody big ports down from, some big guild and they're just decked with gear and you're like, that guy is the man.
Yeah.
And I was like, I miss that. I mean, it's just crazy that this genre has gone off in such a crazy direction. And it's just a greedy direction, honestly, like selling all this stuff. I'm sure they make tons of money. Mm-hmm. I don't know, but it's just weird. And I was thinking, what way should the MMO genre have gone? And, obviously microtransactions should have never happened. It's just completely antithetical to MMOs in general. And and MMOs, they're massively multiplayer. I remember, back when we'd go on raids and things like that 20 years ago, you'd have 40 people getting together and it should be, and it was this awesome event, and you died a bunch of times. And it's cool. And I remember thinking, like, I can't wait till this is, 2,000 people doing something. And so and that's not happening. I'm like, how did we lose our way? Like MMOs should be getting more and more massive. We should be having, the server work together to do things and bigger events and more people and greater purpose in that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Desrin, what do you think? I mean, I'm sure that you want to jump in here and have a few comments on this because I know I do.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, I totally agree that it's just odd how we've had, 20 years almost of what seems to be stagnation, or backpedaling, even things growing backwards. But when it comes to like your game specifically, I know there's a lot of that co-op experience, right? There's a lot of like you mentioned, the whole server getting together for stuff, right?
Yeah. No, and I think that that's kind of really where we're going is our game is really focused on events, and that's kind of where we come into the whole dungeon master thing. Is we want the world to be changing. We want events to be happening. We want you every time you log into the game. We want you to basically have a new experience, or there's something you've never done, or there's a bunch of people doing something and they need you because the server needs you. And there should be this constant changing and evolving world. And these are just the things that I was thinking of when I was thinking, where should we have gone as a genre, if we had done it right, if money wasn't a thing, if the suits at Activision or whatever weren't like, hey, make sure you make $300 per person per quarter or whatever. It's like, how should we have done this?
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So you went and, started your own. Like
Yeah,
that totally
exactly,
makes
right.
sense. Right, right. And actually,
So
go ahead.
yeah, no, go for it.
Well, I was just gonna maybe take a bit of a different turn. You'll see. I probably have a certain like slant on things, being kind of involved in a lot of like the indie space, and obviously we're very Pantheon focused here. But one really cool thing about following Pantheon to me is that it lies adjacent to a lot of these like rising indie and small scale development studios that we've kind of seen gaining traction over like 10 years or so. And I'm sure, you've probably had your eye on a lot of games or studios in that space. And being a game that's obviously grown out of passion, how does that influence like your project?
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing because, like I said, I just thought about all these things that should have happened, and for us, it was just this passion where we're like, we have to make the game that we want to play, and we have to make the game where we believe the genre should have gone, and that isn't to go backward necessarily. That's to go forward in a totally different direction. So for us, like the DM thing is really key to our game. So for instance, let's say you log on and, right now the mindset for a lot of people is, hey, let's just grind to max level, right? Well, we want the goal that every time you log in, you can do that. You can certainly go and group and grind out. But then we also want you to know that there's something going on in the world. There's something that you can experience, and we want you to be like tempted by that. You know what I'm saying? So let's say there's a siege going on over at this certain castle and they need more people. So you need to go and show up to that thing. And then, for instance, like the DM can and make that a dynamic experience so they can spawn different things within that siege to do different types of attacks and various other things. It's kind of hard to explain without experiencing it, but it's something where we're just like, hey, let's give the freedom and control to DMs to change this world, to script out different events, to build various raids, and really open the system up to an evolving and changing world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, kind of on that note, being that you want War of Dragnorox to be, extremely high in GM presence, or DM. I love that it's, a DM just specifically for that D&D, throwback.
Yeah.
But you even mentioned, I think, on the website, saying as much as 24/7 interaction per server for these DMs, and it looks like you've said your team's like kind of putting together these tools to make that possible. But I'm just curious, like, what degree do you expect like the average player to like experience, the intervention of a dungeon master, which is such a like special and personal thing, especially considering your monthly subscription is like $10 a month. That just seems like wild, man.
Yeah. So here's kind of what we're thinking, and it's always evolving and changing and things like that. But basically, we want people who are involved to be. We're going to open up the DMing capabilities to a specific set of people, and we're going to have people. We're going to try to get people who are very passionate about storytelling. It would be like your guy who you play D&D with on Friday night. He organizes it at his house and he writes his own stories. I had a friend like that who he would sit, write his own stories. He'd build all this stuff out, and we'd go over to his house and we'd play it. And he just lived for that. I mean, he just loved that. And those are the type of people that we're gonna really try to recruit. Now, I'll just be honest with you. I mean, I might as well just spill the beans. We're pretty much gonna have a contest at some point along the way to open up the opportunity for anyone to become a DM. Now we'll have a lot of regulations and various other things, monitoring and stuff, so it's not abused. But we really want the people who are passionate about that to be able to play the game in that capacity as well.
Gotcha. So to liken it to something that I'm sure a lot of this community is used to, they'd be like kind of super guides, so to
Yes,
speak, right?
exactly. Yes, it's
Very
exactly a
cool.
good thing for it. So, and because we know, it's really interesting because money is a thing that you need to keep going, but it's also one of those things where we're just so passionate, we like really don't care about the money. We're just like it's a bad business thing. That's whatever. But we want to make sure that people are enjoying the game, that people are experiencing it the way that they want to experience it. And we're hoping for that. There's a lot of people who are really interested in being those DMs/guides and can really influence the story. And again, we'll have some people always ask, well, what happens if they abuse the system? We're gonna have a lot of monitoring. We're gonna have a lot of regulations. These people are gonna be they're gonna assign some things. They're gonna be accountable for the things that they do in the game. And like I said, we'll be monitoring. So again, we're trying to recruit people who are passionate about storytelling. So I hope that the negative components that could come from that are minimal. But again, I feel like we're going to get a good community. I feel like we're going to get good people who are interested in doing that. And I think they're going to do a good job. So that's kind of where we're going.
Yeah,
That's cool.
That's really interesting. And that's a really unique thing too. I mean, I can't think of any other game on the market that's doing something like that. I think that it's almost like a hybrid PvP, PvE, like the player is the environment and controlling the environment, and then the other players are fighting against that. Like a very interesting and unique approach to an MMO. So very, very interested in experiencing that, and looking forward to seeing more about that as time goes on. What's your background, Josh, in terms of like you mentioned EQ in the beginning and lower guck, but what's your MMO legacy and PvP or PvE, or do you have a favorite in mind? Is it one that stands out as your sort of what's influenced you as a gamer, I guess?
Absolutely. So, I had a coworker when I was about 14 years old tell me about this game called EverQuest, and he explained it to me, and I just couldn't believe that you could have a persistent world like that where everybody could be on a single server where you could get all this cool gear, kill dragons. I mean, it blew my mind, and I bought it immediately and I played it, and I was so addicted to the game. And my dad to this day still makes fun of me, but he used to tell me, hey son, don't you want to go try drugs like all the other normal kids out there? So, I got so addicted. I mean, what an amazing experience MMOs are. And, I was a kid in high school, and high school is rough, and I was absolutely not a cool kid, not anything like that. And I had kind of a tough high school. I was really a small guy. Like, I literally got put in trash cans, no joke. And so, when I could escape that world and go into this amazing adventure online and be this awesome warrior. I mean, it was like it literally just
It changed everything, right?
yeah, it did. I mean, it's literally if I talk about it too long, it's like it becomes an emotional experience
Yeah.
for me because it was so powerful in my life.
Yeah.
And I just love the genre. I love it. It's amazing. In fact, I've only actually made it to level 30 on WoW because I had to. So I played it in college when it first came out. I actually went to the Blizzard launch party in I think it was Irvine, California. I was just going to college down there, and I was like, "Hey, I'll just show up to this thing." And so we went to the launch party. It was crazy. It actually, today it would be like 100,000 people. It was like maybe 1 or 2,000 people. Not that big of a deal. But and then I immediately got the game. I had played a little bit of the beta, but then I played the game, and then I realized, like literally within a week, that I can't play this game because I'm gonna get kicked out of college. I'm gonna ruin my life here.
That's funny. I mean, I have my story is similar, except EverQuest came out when I was in university. So if it had come out in high school, when I was in high school, it would have definitely kept me out of trouble that I definitely got into. I wish it had come out in high school because it would have saved me a lot of grief. But I've told this story before that EverQuest, I'm amazed that I actually completed university with EverQuest being in my life at that time because I somehow managed to balance the two. But you're right. I mean, it's funny. It's the same story that I think I've heard from other people too, is that somebody mentioned it to them, they tried it, and they're like, this, it just blows your horizons wide open. Everything that wasn't a possibility before now became a possibility, and here we are 20 whatever years later, and we're still trying to find that, rekindle that flame a little bit, or find that magic again. So,
Right.
yeah, it's and you're the passion that you have in making War of Dragnorox is it feels like, to me, it sounds like you're funneling that passion into your project.
That's exactly right. And I mean, I don't care. Maybe not everyone loves the game, but I'll guarantee you, everyone will respect the game. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll say that was cool. That was a good idea. That guy, those guys, they weren't after my wallet. They wanted to create an experience for me. They're not just some greedy corporation. They're really trying to make the best MMO experience for me possible. And that is exactly what we're doing. And that's the passion that we go into. And I think you miss a lot of that. And I don't want to bash on competitors or anything, but like a New World, for instance, it's like you're missing that component of passion and understanding about an MMO. It just kind of is empty at the end of it all. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just sometimes it doesn't translate. It doesn't, if it's there, it gets too diluted in the process, through going through this, whatever the process is, in making that game. In the case of New World, through a ginormous company like Amazon, or maybe it's another situation, but somewhere along the line that it gets lost in translation. Right.
Yeah. And I feel like, and I don't know, I mean, I'm sure there's many, many great people who work there who are, very passionate about the industry, and I don't want to say anything bad about them. I don't know, something just didn't go right there, and I don't. I think I know what those things are, but again, I don't want to bash on anybody. But again, we're just like, hey, you know what? You may, at the end of the day, you don't have to play our game, but we want you to understand that we did everything we could to give people an amazing experience and something that's very, very different. So like when you're grouping, for instance, right now we always get in groups and we go down. Well, these days, you can solo everything, but like for us, it's like social is a huge important part of our game. So we're gonna really try to make people group. And let's say you're going down a hallway to get to your spot, and this is like a scenario that the DM would do. All of a sudden, like the hallway is blocked where you were trying to go, and you're like, oh shoot! But a new one has kind of opened up, and you're exploring this area that you've never explored before. And then all of a sudden you like turn a corner and there's this portal, and you can go through the portal, or you can not go through the portal. But let's say you go through the portal and then you go to a zone that you've never been to before, you've never even seen on the internet, or everything's gonna be usually spoiled within a couple weeks. But at some point you're gonna be like, I've never been here, I didn't know this existed, and then you're killing this in this area, and then all of a sudden the system says, hey, there's this lizard monster in the back, and he's doing some magic incantation, and you need to kill him within the next 20 minutes or the zone's going to fill up with poisonous gas and you'll all die. So then your group is like scrambling to get down there, kill the guy, and before you all die, and then you know, let's say you kill him, and then you get this awesome reward. And I think that's the kind of experience that we're hoping for with the DMs and our game in general. And then, you know, you log off and you're like, that was amazing. And you know, you'll never have that experience again, but you'll have a different one the next time you join in. So it's just, that's what we're going for. That's what we're really trying to get with our game and the DM experience.
Right on.
Yeah, that sounds like awesome. And I wanted to kind of jump in and maybe pedal back a little bit, because you're touching on like a certain topic that I'm pretty passionate about, and that's the genuineness of, you know, things like indie studios and stuff like that, that people are really starting to resonate. I feel like that's kind of the modern time that a lot of people are really starting to see companies that aren't just going for your money, or aren't, you know, really like, you know, corrupt or whatever. That like they're like, oh my gosh, I'll support them like one way or another, right? And so on that topic of like genuineness though, and transparency, which is something that, you know, the Pantheon community is really like, a lot of people totally follow VR because of how genuine and often transparent they are about things. Now, I wanted to kind of call out something here from your website that I can't even stress enough how impressed I am by, and that is the game project or game progress page. I think this has got to be one of the most succinct and informative public progress trackers in game development that I've seen.
Thank
So
you.
like what inspired your team to kind of put that info out there in that way? Like basically right when you guys ended up on the map suddenly.
Yeah, no, I mean, I appreciate your comments on that. Honestly, we're just super simple guys trying to build something amazing. And, you know, there's no point in, I mean, maybe, you know, maybe it's bad marketing or whatever, but we're just like, hey, here's where we're at. I mean, it's pretty simple. Here, we got this left, and this left. And as soon as this is all done, we'll do a beta and you guys can come try it out.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
And I mean, so the game's been in development for like 4 or 5 years, right? That I think that's right.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you think being like privately funded to release has affected things like your product's timeline, like the, you know, direction of design and scope of the game? Whereas, you know, a lot of other games are kickstarted, or you know, they get announced way before release. So like, yeah, how has that worked out for you guys?
Right, like we're pretty, like I said before, we're just kind of simple guys just trying to do the best that we possibly can. And you know, for us, the private funding is a, you know, a huge reliever, but it's a lot of you know, our money as well. And so we're just basically trying to build something incredible. And you know, so we don't have all these restrictions. We're not trying to, you know, get all this funding from Kickstarter, and we've, you know, we've seen that go wrong so many times, like with Chronicles of Lyria and stuff, where people are just so predatorial about those things, and they, you know, they sell all these dreams and then they can't deliver on it. And that's why we were in stealth mode for 4 or 5 years, to the detriment of our marketing. Is we wanted to make sure that we could do it, that we could fund it, that we will finish it, and that it'll be you know, something people can enjoy. And we don't, again, we're just passionate about gaming. We're passionate about MMOs. We're like, we don't, you know, if we need the money, you know, we'll sell something of value. We'll sell something that you can use. And right now we don't. And so that's why we were kind of slow on announcing it. We were like, hey, let's make sure that we can make it to the finish line before this thing, you know, needs to fly. So that's really where we're at with all that. It's a nice thing to have, but again, it's also painful. We don't have all this money coming in from Kickstarter or millions of dollars, whatever it is that people have raised. But again, it's just we're just passionate guys. We're just trying to build something amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to touch on that as well. You've referenced your team quite a bit. Can you tell us a little bit more about your team at Triune Studios? Like how many, you know, the size of the team, how many people you have there, and maybe
Yeah.
detail some of the
Super.
roles of your team?
Yeah, super small team. There's 7 of us. And then, a couple programmers, community guys, lore guys, various other things like that. We all wear 14 different hats.
Yeah, I'd
Uh,
imagine.
and then we have countless 3D artists that we contract with and, buy stuff from. So, if you're a 3D artist out there listening, drop me a line. I would love to see your work. So, that's really where we're at with it all. We're just small team, just grinding away. And, we think we're going to be able to put something out there that's really unique and really cool.
Yeah, that's fantastic. One of the let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. One of the favorite topics around these parts is classes and class design. That's our community always brings us back to class design. And from what I've read, there's going to be 7 classes to pick from. Correct me if I'm wrong. In War of Dragnorox, and that according to the website, crafting skills and acquired loot will allow you to play a hybrid variant of each class. So I guess my question is really 2 parts. Can you tell us a little bit about the 7 classes, and then maybe how those items or things will create these hybrid variants, and maybe give an example of that?
Absolutely. So, let's say, for instance, one of the classes is the bombardier, and basically what that person does is they throw bombs, and they build bombs, and they throw bombs at the different monsters, kind of like a wizard in modern MMOs.
Right.
But then as soon as you get to a certain level or um, skill level, I should say, you can choose your branch, which would be a grenadier or a chemist. And so, for instance, a grenadier would have different shrapnel type bombs, or they can also split off into explosives and different things like that. The chemist, for instance, would probably, I think they shift into poisons, along with or mutations, where you can cover an area with a liquid gas bomb that can change targets into different creatures, or cause them different dots or various other things like that. So there's these main classes, these 7 main classes, and then we have these branches in each of the classes where you can specialize in, and that's kind of how we're doing it right now.
Cool.
Yeah, actually, on that note, you mentioned, bombardier and chemist and all of these kind of classes, and I think one of the most surprising and interesting things about your game world is that magic is basically evil.
Yeah.
That's just super like different. That's very novel
Right?
in the MMO space. And so like player wielded magic is just so common, and people are obviously like used to that by now. But so like how will War of Dragnorox fill that kind of void when a lot of players are so used to like flashy spells and all of this like
Yeah, for
crazy
sure.
magic?
So it's a little bit, it's one of the things that we wanted to be really unique. We had these ideas where we're like, hey, magic is used in every single RPG and MMO and every possible game that has any sort of RPG element to it. Let's make it evil. Let's make it something you don't want to use. And the reality of the situation is the gameplay is actually really, really similar. So like a bombardier, for instance, it's basically a wizard, and there's going to be awesome explosions. There's going to be awesome crafting things. You're going to be able to do some cool. There's some cool animations. There's all sorts of stuff, but it's essentially a wizard. But we're just kind of going down a different route in terms of our lore.
Right. So sort of twisting and sort of taking maybe some established, class archetypes and putting a different twist on them, adding something to them that you haven't seen before, or maybe making them different in little ways.
Exactly, and it's just part of the difference in the gameplay.
Hmm.
And I'll just be straight with you guys. Like it's pretty much like very similar to some of the things that you've played and seen and done before, but just different in very distinct areas. It's very different, that it'll kind of create a different way to play,
Right.
but we're talking not huge differences. The core of each of the classes is very similar to things you've played before.
Right, right. And I mean, but I think the aesthetic matters, right?
Right.
And because it puts you in the world, it matches you with the lore. And the vibe that I kind of get from the game, being that it isn't, players using magic a ton, is a more kind of like dungeon delvey Indiana Jones kind of adventure. That's kind of the vibe I get. Is that like at all what you guys were going for, or is there like kind of a different feel that you might be targeting?
Yeah, honestly, that's a good thing. And I never really thought about it too much, to be honest with you. But I think we were just kind of going for something unique and different. And I think, I'll be honest with you, I started out doing a lot of the class design, and it was not what it should be. And that's kind of what you see in the video of our gameplay originally. But then my programmer partner in crime, Brett, he took it over, and he's on a different level. He's very good at class design. He's got a ton of experience in pretty much every RPG out there. He's the best player I've ever seen at Dark Souls.
Wow, that's saying something.
Yeah, so he's taken that over, and that should have been done. He should have taken it over a long time ago. He's very good at what he's doing. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to come up with. And like I said, since he took it over, we're kind of doing a few things differently, kind of tweaking things. So we'll see how it kind of turns out. And so I say all that to say, I don't really know myself.
Fair enough. I can appreciate that answer.
Yeah, so I think what he's done so far and built and designed so far is awesome, and I'm excited for him to take it further, because it's going to be a much better product, I think, at the end of the day. So
Yeah, I do have to ask a selfish question that maybe I'm going to throw you a curveball here, but we all have our favorite classes and our community
Right.
knows who our favorite classes are, and mine is the Ranger. So I have to ask: is there a bow wielding class in War of Dragnorox?
Oh yeah. So
Okay.
there is an archer, and it's gonna be cool. I'll just tell you that. I think you're really gonna be pleased. I think you're gonna really like it. I think you're gonna love the customization around it. I think you're gonna be very excited at the things you can do to kill enemies. And it's like, yeah, it's an Uber class. You're gonna dig it.
That's what I like to hear. As an old school EverQuest player, you know how starved us Rangers were for quality.
You Rangers have been just completely destroyed in classic EQ. I'm very, very sorry. You
And
deserved so much better.
and we've been
All right,
taking
all right. All right.
we've been taking flack for it for 20 years.
Before this turns into too much Theric pity, let's get back to okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna steal something here real quick, but you know, the scope of your game is still quite large for being such a small team, which is really impressive, having so much world. And I think on the website it says more than 30 zones and 19 raid encounters at launch. Uh, so with all of that content, you said you contract out a lot of artists, right? And the my question is the population of the world, like basically building out content. I'm curious what the difference between the kind of static content or the stuff that's there without DM intervention. How is that compared to the content that can be intervened with? Like, do you expect, a 70% like kind of spread, or how do you kind of see that with the grand scope of the world you've got?
So yeah, no, that's a really, really good question. So, the world is built out. And basically when we build the world, and as we're still doing, we're inserting, how do I say this? We've built a lot of different controls in our DM system so that DMs can have quite a bit of flexibility there. Um, so they'll be able to spawn things, they'll be able to do traps, they'll be able to do add in storyline stuff, they'll be able to add in different zones and various areas. But what I'm saying by that, I'm kind of blathering on here, but basically, every single zone has stuff that you won't be able to see unless a DM interacts with that. Does
Oh,
that make
wow.
sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
sounds really cool.
So yeah, and these are the things that we're super excited about. It's like you're gonna go in and what the heck? I'll just say it. Like, let's say you run in a dungeon, right? So like we've built this static kind of dungeon out, and then we've also built controls within this dungeon to lock off different areas. We've also built off different things within the dungeon that you haven't seen, and areas that you'll be able to go with only a DM intervention. And we've also built in different portals to different zones that you've never been in. So the game will actually launch with zones that people won't even be able to access until a DM decides to open that up. So you could literally be playing a month down the road and you're at, like the internet does, it's got everything out there plastered for the whole world to see already. And then all of a sudden, you'll be doing some dungeon run with your group, and a portal will open up, or you'll see a portal, and you'll be like, "Well, should we go through it? Should we not?" And then you'll, like I said before, you'll choose. If you choose to go through it, like you'll probably show up in a place that maybe no one has been before. So there's a lot of content there, and there's a lot of flexibility. So like I said, they can pretty much spawn any mob in any place. They can lock off just about any area. They can add. I mean, I could go on and on, but it's very flexible what we've built.
It's so interesting because in our community, we have people who have all different skill sets and talents, and there's really talented writers in our community, in the Pantheon community, and people who create stories and create their own. Like, this sounds like their dream type of game where they can basically play an MMO, but they get to be the storyteller. They get to create their own narrative of some sort and do things along those lines. So.
That is exactly what we're going for. I mean, we want those people to experience our game differently. And that's the truth. And we want them, because, like, for instance, I make games, right? I like making games. I have friends who are programmers who would rather eat their shorts than make games. They they want to enjoy it and relax,
Yep.
So it's just a different mindset. I can't not make them. I love it too much. It's too ingrained in me. So I just it's a different style for different people to play. And maybe some of these guys never even actually play the game. They just enjoy the DMing aspect of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of us that play D&D that have DM'd, like 90% of the games that we've ever played, right? But actually, on that note, I am curious, with all these tools and such, I'm wondering, all of your, the DMs, do they kind of have an overarching like story you're trying to tell that you're trying to help them navigate in the micro sense, but there's
Absolutely.
some macro thing? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There will be some very strict guidelines that they have to follow. They need to, and like I said, we're going to have them sign stuff. It's a serious deal. I mean, they're going to be a GM in our game, and we take that very, very seriously. And we'll have very strict guidelines, very strict processes, and a lot of monitoring. We'll be able to see everything that's done along the way. So we understand that there's an elements that could be abused there, and like I said, we hope we just don't get that junk. I mean, or we know it'll happen, but I guess we should say we just hope it happens really, really rarely, and that people are just enjoying what they like to do by being a DM.
Right. Yeah, I could see that. And actually, on the other end of that, let's say I'm playing the game, and I have a session that is not intervened, and maybe I'm playing with a few friends. But as far as like the other content, or I guess a lot of people would refer to it as like overworld content. Even though I hate that, because I think really great content can be overworld content, but basically like the non-dungeon stuff, or the non stuff that's kind of meant to be DM controlled, is that still going to be like fulfilling? Like, what kind of stuff are we talking about that we'll be able to do in that sense?
Absolutely. I mean, it basically, you're going to be going through this world, and you're not going to be able to distinguish it from a regular MMO. You're going to go through, there's going to be monsters everywhere. There's going to be things to do, things to kill, different quests, different stuff. But there's just our goal is to create a different experience every time someone joins the game. And, that's a very interesting and difficult goal to obtain, but that is the goal. And so you could be going down a dungeon run, and you you've done this particular run before, and our goal again would be to give you an option to do something different or to experience something different. And that's just what we're aiming for. And I hope, and I think we can achieve that, especially with some of the tools we've built. I think we're going to be able to achieve that. People were very concerned, like, how are you going to be able to pay all these people, and how are you guys going to be able to do all this? And that's a lot of work and all that stuff. And well, that's true, but we've also built some pretty cool controls and stuff that I actually can't even talk about because it's unique, it's different, and I think we're going to give people a lot of ability to do some cool stuff. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with having the bar set high and setting,
Right.
high goals for yourself. And dynamic content is one of those. It's one of those, things that has always been sort of a pie in the sky and something that people have wanted in the MMO space. So I think you're on the right track for that, and I think the goal is a legit goal. So. I wanted to talk about something you alluded to a little earlier. One of the things on the website, and from hearing you speak, that comes across really clearly is a return to this business model we don't see much these days, and that's being the subscription only model with no cash shops, no microtransactions. From what you've said already, clearly, we share a distaste for microtransactions across the board. What kind of player base are you expecting that will allow that kind of a model to be like financially viable? I mean, we see it's so ubiquitous amongst the genre today, and there's a reason. So, do you think War of Dragnorox is targeting a more of a niche market, or is it? Do you hope to? What kind of player base do you need to support that kind of a business model?
With the way that we're financially set up, I think we're going to be in a really, really good spot to be able to support this game for a very long time. We do not have a high level of cash required, but I think, and maybe I'm saying that to say maybe it's kind of a niche market, and that's possible. I mean, truly at the end of the day, I think people are going to be like, we want to play this game because it's totally different. It's totally amazing. And, I don't know. It's kind of one of those things that I honestly haven't really put a ton of thought into, except for like when Steam emails me, like you should see the emails that I get from Steam. Like, hey, are you sure you want to put your game as a subscription? Like, this is a really bad idea. Every game that does this pretty much fails. So
Really?
you don't want to do this.
That is too funny. I did not know that they did that.
Oh, they've been.
Could be because Steam takes like 30% of your subscription too.
Yeah, they do. And they're like freaking out on me. They're like, you don't want to do this. And I'm like, well, maybe we don't. And, are you sure? Like a lot of MMOs do subscriptions, and I mean, they're just freaking out. They're like, hey, don't do this. And I'm like, okay, but I'm still going to try. So, we need to have some cash, and, maybe we change the pricing model. I truly don't know. At this point for us, it's like, hey, let's build the best possible game we can, and let's try to figure out a way that, we can support it and sustain it for many, many years to come. And for us today, that makes sense with the subscription model. Maybe we change that to a one-time price. I don't know, but I do believe that, there's a good core group of people, especially guys like us who have played kind of the older school MMOs, who aren't afraid of a subscription price and who are dying to get a new MMO experience that's kind of resonates, kind of feels a little more hardcore old school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those topics that gets brought up a lot in our discussions in the community. People are very passionate about this microtransactions in general, just in cash shops and that kind of stuff, and feeling very burned by the whole prominence of them. And one of the things I've always sort of advocated for or sort of suggested was that I think there's a place for a game that their identity is their identity is we are the no cash shop game. Like I feel like that hasn't really been explored very much. So when I was looking at your website and sort of learning about the game, I really that was something that I think came across to me, and I think probably resonates with quite a few people. So I just wanted to touch on that, and I commend you for that effort to become that game.
Well, thank you very much. Honestly, it's resonated hugely with like a lot of people, and to be straight up, we didn't really expect it to be that big of a deal. We were just like, we hate this, and we think this ruins all games, no matter what they are, and we don't want this. So we're gonna try something different. And like everyone was like, "This is amazing. We love you guys for it." And we're like, "Whoa, okay, well that's cool. We
Yeah,
felt that way, but
yeah, I definitely see a bit of a resurgence of that model just in the last maybe couple years. It's funny because right now, actually, a few days ago now, I don't know if you follow Mortal Online 2, Starvolt
absolutely,
AB. They're in a similar way. You know, they're just like no cash shop ever, no, it's just a subscription. And the interesting thing about it is I feel like it through the launch the last few days, I've noticed it splits a certain part of the community where the people that are very dedicated that actually want to be a part of a online breathing world are generally totally okay with the subscription model because they just want an even experience for everyone. And then
right?
there's a lot of folks that are surprised by it, that actually want to, MMO hop and they don't want to commit. And what's fascinating to me, is seeing this resurgence of this model is a lot of the people that we tend to resonate with in the MMO community tend to gravitate towards the same projects. And I think your project is a similar vein to resonate with the same crowd of people that is just ready to get back to basics and get back to, hey, I just know what I get. Like I see it, I get it. There's no funny business, you know?
Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, it's so important for us as players to, I mean, just support those type of games. I was actually going to buy online, Mortal Online too, because I was just like, hey, I'm in. I want to try it too, but it's one of those things. I'm like, we need to do that. We need to support those games
Support
because
it,
at the
yeah.
end of the day, like if we keep supporting these companies that do all these microtransactions, that is exactly what we're
Yeah.
going to get.
Yeah. We are
And
our own worst enemy sometimes.
right.
Yep, gotta put your
And
money where your mouth is, right?
yeah, so I mean, I love that they're trying it. I love that they're trying it so that I can also watch and see how it goes.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at was like you get to like kind of see this reemerge and get to follow like how does this work 20 years after it was introduced or well, not a little more than 20 years now, but like you get to actually learn from that, which I think is a great timeline for your title.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see how it goes for them, and I've thought about actually reaching out to probably their company leadership at some point. Maybe they will talk to me, maybe they won't. But just to kind of just share thoughts and ideas with them and just see how it went for them. But and they probably won't share that information with me because I'm a competitor. But I think for me, I'm like, hey, let's give this a shot. At the end of the day, w- we're gonna run this server with 20 people on it if no if we have to. I mean, we don't we'll scale this down if that's if everyone's like we hate subscriptions, we're like okay fine, we just want to play the game, we're like hey, let's just go kill some dragons.
Right. Yeah,
Fine,
absolutely.
if I was worth, if we were all worth more money than we were, we just make the game and give it away for free. I mean, if we could, we don't care.
Yeah, if the world could be run on passion, then it
Right.
sounds like you would be the wealthiest guy in
we
town.
we'd be rich as snot, I'd tell you that.
Yeah, man, I wish that was the case. I wish that was the case, but yeah,
Yeah, me
no,
too.
it's still
So
it's fuel for the soul though to hear that passion come
yeah, I
across.
mean, it's seriously, and that's something, I would do it in a heartbeat. If we literally had just a small group of people and I could run the whole thing on one server, I would pay for that easy. I mean, I would just be like, okay, this is awesome. We'll get 40 people on here on Friday nights and we'll go kill dragons and do all sorts of stuff. I don't think that's how it's going to go. I think it'll be, a good game. And I think people really see that. And I think we're going to have a lot of people involved, but I don't care. We're just like, let's just go kill stuff together and have adventure. I mean, get out of this microtransaction crazy stuff.
Yeah,
I think that genuineness is really going to resonate with a lot of people. So
yeah. So yeah, no,
I really, I really hope so, and I hope it comes through in the game because it'd be fun to raid with 5,000 people as opposed to just 40.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I mean, and I think we're all looking for the same thing here at this point, and I think that you've definitely got a good thing going here. And before we wrap up, we're almost at an hour, so we're going to wrap it up. But Desrin, was there any other questions you had on mind, or anything else you wanted to ask Josh?
I'm gonna sneak just a silly, random, fun question that I'm sure there's at least one person thinking about, especially if they've read your website, which has a ton of information on it, by the way. Um, uh, unique items. Do you wanna touch on that real quick?
Absolutely. I think it's interesting because I just remember. So this is kind of a. Can I go into a story here real fast? I know we're close to
Absolutely.
an hour,
No,
but like
absolutely.
I was on the Vishan server on the original EverQuest, classic EverQuest, whatever you want to call it, back in the year 2000. And like, if you're a plane defiler, which is Alex Avrasambi or whatever he was, the executive at director who was basically in a scandal recently, was that guy. And do you remember him? He was the leader
Oh
of
yeah.
Fires of Heaven, the number one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was the lead guy of Fires of Heaven. For those of you in the audience who don't know, which is the biggest guild across the whole game, and he was on my server, and I remember seeing the guy in game like once, or I specifically remember one time, and he had gear that was like that's amazing. He was decked out. I mean, he was the leader of the best guild, and I never even heard of some of the stuff he had, and I think that really cemented something in my mind that we really need to have sometimes really unique items, sometimes items that drop literally one time on the server, sometimes items that drop one time in the game. Um, and kind of is that kind of what you're talking about with the
Oh
unique
yeah,
items
yeah. I
question?
just
Yeah.
figured you'd like to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think for us it's like gear is so important to me personally. I think gear, and that's why we're never ever having a microtransaction shop of any kind ever. I'll be dead before we do it. I'll give the game away and pay for the servers myself. We just that moment is so powerful to me where you're like, I was just like looking at this guy and I'm just like, that dude is the man. And and I mean that is what we want. We want people to get those things. We want people to have unique items, and there will be unique items that are just you will know about them. They will be best in slot. They will be awesome. There will be other items that are just look amazing. There will be other items that, um, yeah, I think we're really passionate about doing something cool and different like that, and that's kind of where we're going. There will be items in the game that won't drop for years, probably. So that's just kind of where we're at with it.
That's great. That mentality is so lost these days. I'm like
Right?
you. I'm like you. I remember vividly seeing EverQuest, seeing people running around in Rubicite armor, and you couldn't get Rubicite anymore. They took it out of the game for after I don't remember how long it was, but it was like this dodo bird that didn't exist anymore, but some people still got to keep it, right? And it's like
Right.
unbelievable how much identity gets attached to that, and how much meaning as a player gets attached to that. And even if you don't know the person, you maybe never talk to them, but by seeing them, they've done this, they've been around this long, they've accomplished this task, and it doesn't even matter what they have to say or who they are. It's like this is what you see, so it just makes that
Right.
impression.
And we're kind of balancing, we're kind of toying with the idea, should we have like a dozen of those items or like a couple hundred of those items? How does that work for us as a game? So I'm trying to we're trying to figure that out. But basically, we want people to be able to obtain those things if they want them, unique items that only they have and only they will ever have. And what does that drop rate and various other things look like? We're still trying to figure that out. But if you guys have any ideas, let me know. But
oh, oh, we've got ideas. We run a weekly podcast. We have ideas. Awesome. That's great, Josh. Yeah. So Desmond, you want to wrap it up here?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for the interview. This has been a pleasure. It's been really exciting getting to hear about your game. I definitely want to give you space here at the end just to, give all of your like social media, all of your, things you want to share so that people can find you, find your game, get interested, get involved. So like, take it away, man.
Well, first off, thank you guys for having me on the show. I love talking to you guys. It's been awesome. I mean, I think we're just similar guys. We've been playing MMOs a long time, and it's so awesome to talk with guys who understand what what we're trying to do. So thank you for having me on. And if you're interested in the game, please head to the website, sign up for the beta. We're gonna have an open beta. You just have to sign up. It's warofdragnorox.com. Just Google it if you can't spell it. I'm sorry about the name for some of you who don't like the name, but it is what it is. So
I think it's pretty good.
So go ahead, head to the website, sign up for the beta. There'll be plenty of chances to test things out and get involved. And I guess I should say, the thing that I need the most, and again, thank you for having me on, is just people who talk about the game, spread the word about the game, put comments, yell at their favorite YouTubers, whatever it takes to get the word of mouth out for this game. I just really, really appreciate it. We are really behind on our marketing, to be honest with you. We have got, we spent our time building this game in stealth, and for whatever reason, I'm not sure that I would take it back, but we didn't announce the game before we had built anything. We announced the game and we have like literally 80% of the world built. And so we're really behind, and anything anybody can do to spread the word, help us out, just talk about it, share it with your guild, share it with people is just super, super appreciated. And thank you guys again for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. And anytime you guys want to just talk about MMOs or anything, it doesn't even have to be about the game. I love chatting with you guys, so appreciate it.
Right on.
It's what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Josh. We really, really appreciate your time. And like you said, everybody go check out the website, follow him on Twitter, spread the word, all that good stuff. And we'll wrap it up there. So thanks again.
The Pantheon community is full of cool projects, new people, and things that are just worth sharing. What's this over here? Look at that. So let's see what we can find in this week's Community Spotlight. All right, folks, let's start off the Community Spotlight with an introduction from the official forums. Title of this one is New Troll Here, but it's not what you think. This is Bhazrak, who says, and I quote, Skarshmar, I'm a troll and will be one regardless of if they exist. So, well, perhaps someday, Bhazrak. Perhaps someday.
He's a troll at heart. You can't take the troll out of the player.
That's right. You can take the troll out of the game, but you can't take the troll out of the player.
Thank you for finishing the entire phrase that I was looking for there. That's exactly what I meant to say.
But yeah, definitely go say hi to this honorable troll. I've linked the post below, of course. And so the next one, though, I can't really show since this is just a podcast. But guys, if you haven't seen Manofrohan's infomercial for HDRP, you are missing out. It is so funny and well done. Dude, he involves his whole family too. It just makes it even better.
It's amazing. I mean, I can't even say how much we need this kind of stuff in the Pantheon community. Everybody makes, I feel like sometimes we get a little stuck in the same types of stuff, and this was gold. This is absolute gold. So I messaged him directly. I was like, dude, that was awesome.
No kidding. I mean, it's like NathanNapalm level of unique, and
yes.
And I don't use that lightly.
Yeah, that's one of a kind.
But even the VR team, saw it. They all got a kick out of it, and so seriously, if you need a laugh and just a nice demonstration of the awesome creativity of our community, just go watch it. Again, totally left field, new thing from Manofrohan. I didn't even know he made stuff, and then boom.
Boom. There it is.
Yeah.
He's got the HDRP magic.
Yeah, he does. It does, just for $19.99. Sorry. Also on the video side, we've got quite a lineup. So let's start with CorrydGaming, who's put together not one, not two, but I kid you not, 7 Pantheon videos this last week.
Wow.
Holy crap! Yeah. So like these kind of interesting style. So it's basically like Corey going through the like website sections or like other information, kind of walking through their thought process and reading the info and kind of speaking on each part of it. And it's just really cool, really chill. It's kind of like discovering something with a friend, that's kind of the vibe I get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely seems like they're going to be putting out a lot of Pantheon content. So go check out CorrydGaming. We've also got Simurgh, who I think actually usually covers Ashes of Creation, right?
Yeah. He's big in the Ashes community.
But yeah, he did a video with his thoughts on a lot of like people's comments on Pantheon's like vision dying, that kind of a thing, because a lot of people think, so much has changed and et cetera, et cetera. And he just goes directly at it. I mean, that's kind of his thing. A lot of, his videos are very like direct,
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I love to see like that crossover from Ashes of Creations folks and Pantheon. I love Disparate Worlds.
Yep.
May they start making content again. No pressure.
Yeah, no, we need them back. Yeah, I hear what you're saying about Simurgh here. Yeah, I listen to the podcast that he does with NathanNapalm. I find it's a good, entertaining time, and I was hoping he would start making some Pantheon content. So it's good to see him doing though.
Yeah. I'm happy to see it, man. Kind of a sidetrack, but speaking of, I've got to give a little shout out to NathanNapalm on his D&D campaign that started this last week with special guest David Schlau, aka Ronick. As you can imagine, it's a great time. So if you can catch it, definitely worth the watch. I don't know what to say about it.
Well, what an interesting thing, though, that like a dev on a team. So Ronick is member of the dev team for VR, right? Working on Pantheon, as you may or may not know. But what a cool thing that just the devs will just like reach out and be like, did you want me to, I'm happy to join you if you wanted to do this thing, or I don't know how it got set up, but just the fact that it's even happening, right? Is that they're so connected to the community in terms of the content creators, other people. They just, they're happy to participate in this kind of thing, and what a wonderful thing. So
that's kind of what I get out of it is, I mean, the one of us attitude that I have with VR is explained with this exact situation. Like, they're people, they are like us. They just happen to be the ones on the other side making the game, and they like D&D, they like MMOs, they like RPGs, they like all sorts of stuff that any one of us could say we also enjoy, and I just, I love it, man, love it. Lastly, BasementRPG did another nice 3 minutes of Terminus on the Halfling race. I actually really like this one. These are just super fun, and very digestible and everything. But I love that he compares like other games and other fiction to Pantheon's take on those things. So, like, goes through like Tolkien and EverQuest and all that, and be like, this is how Halflings are here. This is how Pantheon's different. It's just he tackles a lot in 3 minutes. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I've watched a few of them. I haven't watched the most recent one, but I've watched a couple of the other ones he's done, and I like he does kind of the RP of it, right? Like he's very much like in character doing it. So I like that take on it.
Yeah. I think that's it. As usual, if I missed something, feel free to shoot me a DM on Discord, and I'll check it out. It's it's getting harder and harder to keep up.
It's only going to get worse from here, man. Your job,
no kidding.
Your job is growing exponentially. The closer we get to alpha and beta and launch, man, your job is it's going to become more than a full-time job.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting. But I love it. I love searching the community. I love seeing all this stuff. More guys, just bring it on.
Yep.
But that is going to be it for this week's Community Spotlight.
Sit back and relax. It's time for The Lore You Know. All right. So the tale of Terminus continues this week. We left off last week with the introduction of the Jinto to the world. This is a race led by Itero and Janavi, but tragically split when Itero's corruption by an unknown force gave rise to the transformation into the Ravaging Lord and his spawn, the Revenant. We learned of Janavi's efforts to intervene and her creation of the Remnant. This week, we hear how those two forces brought the other races of Terminus together, on both sides and on several planes. So sit back as we enter the Age of Chaos on Terminus, as I read the words of J.N. Gerhardt, Pantheon's lead writer, to bring you the lore you know. With the second era of collisions starting in the spring of 450, the Age of Chaos officially began. Nearly on top of each other came the Myr of Issel, hereafter referred to as Dark Myr, near the Ogres of Brokenmaw, in what would become the continent of Rainfall, and the Archai of Roa to the south, in the realm of Whitethaw, and nearest to the Dwarves and Kadasa. In what would become the first fruits of their peculiar, distant rivalry, both the Dark Myr and Archai lay claim to arriving prior to the other, though it has never been dutifully determined, and let not either sway you it has. The following cursed frost, winter of 459, saw the humans of vast Demeth planted against the Roan mountains of Kingsreach, mercifully close to the elves and Fairthale. These were altogether the original Sacred Six, though the title was some time in coming. In the doomful year of 470, the tremors of the Age of Chaos broke through the surface. Plainly named the Year of Outbreak, the pregnant inertia of the approaching Deicide War came full term when the Revenant erupted from the Saith and overwhelmed the Jinto posted on Olim's Hill. This they renamed Bakram, or Black Flame. Aside from the gross magnitude of their numbers, an attribute that would come to define their reckless and relentless method of warfare, the despotic lord revealed a shrewd and devious act of cunning. For the pantheons of the foreign nations had evil members whose appetite for inequity was starved by the celestial boundary. Having benefited from dissension himself, the Ravaging Lord set a unique card before these near-dormant immortals, enticing them to high mortal status in exchange for rule, ruin, and revenge. This recruitment seduced to his side a few fallen deities, most notably Osari, he who rages, of the humans, and the dead heiress, Haethys Krevgil of the Archai. With these mortal but immensely powerful warlords infused into his newly formed and massive army, the Ravaging Lord turned his eye to Terminus at large. In the subsequent years, Kinnesai, 471 IH, and Lost Sidrith, 472 IH, fell under their storm, while forces such as the Sidrith Vespers in 472 and the Earth Mages of Magin Key in 473 allied with the emerging military titan. But a strange fuel burned within the ruler of the Revenant, and as soon as his might was great enough to be divided, he broke it into 3 armies, one for each continent of the Sacred Six. Osari was to lead the assault on Kingsreach, Haethys Krevgil would attack out of the snows of Whitethaw, and the Ravaging Lord himself would strike upon Rainfall, though this was not yet its namesake. Yet neither the Remnant nor the Six had been idle during this time. In fact, the former had managed a deft campaign of sabotage and diversionary combat against their heinous brethren, most successfully in the critical year of 475. This served 2 ends of vital importance. First, the obvious benefit of forestalling the Revenant and frustrating their otherwise ravenous advance. But secondly, these tactics cast a fog over the delicate union that was forming at the insistence of the Remnant and between the Six. At the summit on Vezu, a mist-soaked island in the midst of two converging oceans that nearly disappears for months at a time, the breadth of consequence behind the Revenant threat was unfolded to the leadership of each attending race. It was from this historic council that the decision to undertake the Sanctum Edict was made. For the Jinto carried these many years a belief that Itero's power and vision were so great he would indeed turn the world to darkness as he had promised. But before her sacrifice, the patient divination of Janavi had peered even farther beyond his furious gaze and perceived a moment in the midnight of despair when the flooding tide of battle would break beneath the sons of Terminus. This cryptic impartation was not at first enough to bring the Six into one accord, but after days of fervent deliberations, each member planted the herald of their people in the crimson sands of Vesu, swearing fealty against the Revenant until the tide consumes or the suns veil. And that is the lore you know. So we are working our way through that tale, and we are going to get there. We are probably finish the Age of Chaos next week, and then we'll move into the Frail Age, which is the current era of Terminus, which is very exciting. So that brings us to the end of episode 87 of The Rewind. We really hope you enjoyed this special edition of The Rewind, and we want to thank you all very much for hanging out with us. Remember, check the links in the description for all the show notes and links to the creators, the content creators, the community folks that Desrin mentioned in his section, and all the content we've discussed. And of course, we'd love to see you again next time. So have a great week, everyone, and we will see you next week.
So long.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Pantheon Plus Rewind. Pantheon Plus is not affiliated with Visionary Realms. Be sure to check out our Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube channels under the name Pantheon Plus. You can follow Theric at Pantheon Theric on Twitter, and Desrin at DesrinDoes also on Twitter. And you can stay up to date with all things Pantheon at www.pantheon.plus. Until next time, cheers, and thanks for listening.